me, myself, and today I want to talk about one of the most probably underappreciated stages in life. And this is the phase when we are single. We want to engage in rather needed conversation together by asking what happened to kill the joy of singlehood. What happened to discovering who you are and living a full life while unmarried? It's almost as if singlehood is something we have reduced to abnormality, like it's a bad situation, like we don't want to be in this state. We do not want to be single. And single people are actually frowned upon, both culturally and, just in how society, has been shaped. And we want to dispel this myth that, singlehood is not a bad situation. It's not a bad place to be. That, it's a good phase in your life. Singlehood is not an inconvenience. And it makes no difference whether you are single by choice or circumstance. Singlehood in this day and age feels like it has increasingly, become, a challenging situation for many of us. And the general feeling is that you are missing out on something. You are unimportant. You are unloved. You are, there must be something wrong with this person if they are single. They must, be carrying some kind of baggage. That's why they're still in this stage of life. And, we look at them and for single parents, it's looking at that child or children that you may have and thinking, how am I going to go through life without somebody to support and help me raise this young person? Now, family and friends do not help this situation at all. There's so much pressure, pressure for you to settle, pressure, for you to have somebody. And this gets us into a place where we are pushed into something that we do not desire or probably are not ready for because of the pressure that comes from outside. Now, unfortunately, in this day and age, everything is just so sexual oriented. It's everything, everywhere you look around, the conversations, on radio, on TV, adverts, social media, everything is so sexualized. And, out there, it feels like, there's so much stuff that is stimulating our minds, sexually, that we are desiring, to go out there and fulfill this urge that is being created and aroused in us. And because of all these things that are happening, the people talking and the social media and the shows on True Hollywood, the ladies, please stop watching those shows. Because of these things, we feel like we are missing out on something. That I need a bae. I need my own bae. I need my own, hey girl, I need my own. And we are living such discontent lives as a result of this. Now, because these challenges are very real, the automatic response, to this situation for most people is to exit singlehood, to look for a relationship, to look for that someone so that I can stop being alone, so that I'm not the third wheel in that, friendship that we have. People many times find themselves rushing into relationships or even marriage, for all manner of reasons. And first one is pressure, the pressure that you receive. We are getting so much pressure from our peers. We're getting so much pressure from our family, from our parents. We're getting so much pressure from society at large. We're getting so much pressure from children, for those who are divorced or widowed, those who are separated, for those who have had children out of wedlock. There's so much pressure. It feels like, it's never enough. When you walk into a place, you might have just bumped into somebody and you walk through the doors and everybody's asking you, so who was that? Who was that? Oh my God, he was so cute. and it feels like that. And then once you get that, that dude, they're asking you, so when are you guys getting married? Is it like tomorrow? Then you get engaged. Then when you get engaged, when is the wedding date? Then when you get married, whoa, when are you guys having your first child? Oh, when are you having your second child? When are you having your third child? And in my case, when are you getting a sister for those sons of yours? Or when are you getting a daughter? Let me tell you, my sons, I am grooming them and raising them to bring me three daughters who somebody else has raised and somebody else has taken to school. All I am doing is spoiling them. Bwana Yesu asifiwe? Amen? So please stop the pressure. But some of us have got different kinds of pressure. Some of us, it's the fear of staying single. You feel like my market value is depreciating the older I go. And the new young spring chickens, walking all over the place. They've got all the latest stuff. They know how to strut their stuff. How can I compete with this? And you try to get into a relationship because of that. Some of us are trying to get into relationships because of security. You feel like, I'll be secure if I find this girl who can just sort my everything out. There's just some security. Like when you have that. No, let's not go there. For some of us, we're saying that my biological clock is ticking and I ain't getting younger. I don't know how viable these eggs are going to be. So I need that somebody to come and fertilize them so that I can. No, it's not only females, by the way. Eligible partners. Eligible partners. For some of us, we are, and this one goes for dudes especially. Doing loaf and tea for breakfast, lunch, and dinner has just gotten so old. I need somebody who'll come and hook me up with some kaugali, and fish. Yes, Charles, there are people who can cook. Hopefully, Rehema can cook ugali and fish for you. But yeah, we need somebody who can come and sort us out, or somebody who can come and compliment us. That's the word that we love to use. For some of us, it could be the pressure of having a baby, a night of passion, or a day, or a moment of passion. And you got into it, she was there, you were there, you both went there, and now there's a baby in the mix. And you're just like, we have to do the right thing. Come together. You don't know this person. It just happened to be, by chance that you both happen to be there and do whatever it is. And now you're caught up in a place where, I'm locked up in this thing. I need to do the right thing and be the man for this woman or be the woman for this man. For some of us, we get into relationships because we want sex and lots of it. These are just some of the things that, push us into relationships. And it seems like, as the days, go, as, the years come and go, seems to get, worse and worse, the things that are pressuring us. And they seem to be the things that are not right for what we need, to prepare ourselves for relationships. The outcomes are not only obvious, they are devastating. And you begin to wonder, are there any good people out there? The truth is that there are. There are plenty of good people out there. But you cannot meet them if you're in a hurry to settle or to be defined by a relationship. I will repeat that. You cannot meet them if you're in a hurry to settle or to be defined by a relationship. So then I ask, can we find and pursue purpose while being single? What are some of the real God-given opportunities that can and should be taken up, when we are single? What does God's word have to say about this? What is the right posture that we need to adopt as you live out your singlehood? Number one, being single is part of your life's journey. Embrace it. Embrace it. King Solomon, who was one of the wisest guys that ever lived, and he was a guy who had so much experience, he had 700 wives, 300 concubines, and those are the ones that are recorded. We don't know about the other mistresses, but those are the ones that were recorded. And this was a man who had great experience, as pertaining, to this relationship in life. And this is what he said in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. He says that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. He actually goes to list some of those things in the following verses. He says there's a time to be born. There's a time to die. He says there's a time to plant and a time to harvest. He says also there's a time to kill, but there's also a time to make peace. There's a time to mourn. There's a time to laugh. And it goes on just like that until verse 8 of that chapter. And basically what he's saying is that every season was created and ordained by God. And this includes the season of being single. What he is telling you is that you need to embrace this time of your life. It's an amazing time of your life. Embrace it and make the most of it. You see, we are born and we develop as single people before we enter any relationship. And it's completely natural when, we are in that stage of life, whether it's by choice or whether something happened and we had a relationship and we got into that space. The key here that Solomon is telling us is that we need to embrace and own this season in life. Sometimes it's actually best to be single because you're not ready for a relationship. My second point is that being single brings great freedom to be the best you can be. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 32, it says that I want you to be free from the concerns of this life. An unmarried man can spend his time doing the Lord's work and thinking how to please him. Paul, when he was writing this, he starts in this same chapter, in verse 7, talking about, you guys, it's good to be single. Join me in being single. Because he understands the kind of freedom that he's getting from this stage of his life. And we don't understand that, there's a blessing of time in your hands. Freedom from commitment to a partner or kids. Something to never be taken for granted. Just ask the married people. Let me tell you my story. Before I got married, I loved, and I still love to travel. My beautiful wife, who is somewhere over here, she also loved to travel. Now, the amazing thing when you're single, you can just up and go anytime. Now, I got married pretty young, so most of the time I'll refer to my college days. On Thursday, all my classes were done on Thursday. So on Thursday, I just used to be sitting around like, what's happening this weekend? Where's the plan? Where's the plot? Where are we going? What's going down, guys? Woo! And, most of the time there was nothing, especially in the colder season. So, I would be like, I've never been to, And all I had to do was just pack a few clothes. I'm not impressing anybody. I pack a few clothes, small bag, put it right on my bag, and I jump even into a job, and I go where I'm going to. In a mat, in a bus. I will stay in an inn, at a Roach motel. I will stay at anywhere, but just as long as I went to that place. But now, Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Enter into the picture Miss Caroline. Now when I go out, or when I want to travel, I have to consider her. I can't take her to Roach Motel. There's no way I can take her to Roach Motel. Now, where we are going, for me, I went there, I looked around, like, woo, awesome, it's over, I don't mind staying in the hotel, relaxing, just lounging. It's my time to disconnect. But enter Miss Caroline. Oh my God, will we do horse riding? And I'm wondering, horse who, what? See, that's for the movies. But the point is, I'm telling you that when somebody comes into the picture, you have to think about their needs. She wants to go to a place and enjoy the place. Is there a water park? Is there an amusement park? Is there this? Is there malls that we can go and shop? I'm like, whoa, this is so overwhelming. All this stuff to do in one holiday. But the point I'm trying to drive home is that once you get married or enter into a relationship, it takes work and energy. Now, because we can't travel as much, we are living life and trying to build a home and stuff, for a better whatever for ourselves. We've sectioned a time of the year when we go on a family vacation. Now, there are kids who are involved in this. Now, you also have to consider these guys. In fact, it has become so, I never thought I would become this guy. So which hotel is offering, kids under a certain age free? So that, there's budgeting, there's thinking about it. What mode of transport are we going to take? Are we going to drive down? And if we're driving down, whose car are we taking? Whose car are you borrowing? Are we doing the SGR? Are we flying? Then you have to think of the kids. How are we going to keep them entertained? So we can't do nowadays, those cottages where you go and you cook for yourself. It's right next to the beach, Nini. Because once you're done with that week, you need a holiday from the holiday because you'll be worn out. So there's so much you have to think about. But what I'm trying to tell you again is that there's so much energy and it takes work to be in a relationship. And Paul here is telling you that free yourself from all these concerns of life. He charges you to do the things of the Lord and improve yourself. Being single excludes you from the concerns of caring for another person and frees you to pursue your goals much quicker. What I'm trying to say is that be the best you that God has called you to be. So how then do we become the best we or me or you that God has called you to be? Number one, embrace singlehood as a stage or a God-given stage in life. Get to know and develop your identity. This is a time for self-discovery. It's a time for you to know who you are. It's a time for you to know what your talents are, what your gifts are. This is a time for you to just, figure out and just live life and understand, what do I want? Where do I want to go? It's the perfect time to know who you are without a significant other or without being in a relationship. It's a time for you to know what values are you bringing to the table. What values are you bringing to your family? What values are you bringing to this significant other that seems to be coming into your life or that you desire to come to your life? What do you have to offer to them? An accomplished single person becomes an accomplished partner in relationships. Get emotionally healthy. Study and grow yourself. It's important to take up activities, that stretch and grow you. This is the moment in your life that you deal with the addictions, that you deal with the, negative emotional issues that are, festered inside. This is the time that you need to learn to serve others and the joy of sacrificing for the sake of another's welfare. And this is really huge. I thought I was the most generous and giving person. I thought I was kind. I thought that, whatever you needed. There are days that I gave my entire paycheck to pay for somebody's rent and buy them whatever food. I know I can make money after all. But there's nothing like marriage. That when it puts right in front of me, it was like a mirror, where I was seeing myself and realizing I'm truly a very selfish person. How can you learn to be selfless? This is the moment. This is the season. This is the time. This is the time that you have to be the best you that you can be. Deal with baggage, especially from past relationships. In fact, if I were you and I am single right now, I would slow down about jumping from one relationship to the other. We do not understand the baggage that we are carrying. We do not understand how anytime we're jumping from one place to another, how we are corrupting our system. And by the time we get into marriage, we have issues. And we're bringing all that corruption in there. And then we're struggling in marriage. The rate of divorce is going up. And the only time you can curb this is right now in the season of being single. Become an interesting person. Become an interesting person. Boring relationships are basically two boring people together. Or one boring person and an excited person who doesn't know what to do with this boring person. Now, contrary to popular belief, I am actually naturally a very quiet person. I'm a very reserved person. I believe it. The pastor said on the stage. But I'm naturally a quiet person. And the only person who can attest to this is my wife. And I'll never forget, as soon as we got married, she's excited, we're in love, and we're doing life together. I found my partner. Oh my God, he's so handsome. And for me, I'm like, girl, she got going, no, yo. And anyway, we're in the car driving, and she's just sharing away, oh honey, I think I'm really, and I think I'm really, oh yeah, this, so honey, what do you think? Yeah, it's all good. Is that all you have to say? After all that, she just wanted to connect with me. And I didn't know how to. But I had a chance when I was single to find interesting things and become an interesting person, learn new things that when I came into marriage, I would be able to be engaging to this beautiful woman who just wants to talk with me and connect with me. Let us take this time to learn new things, make new lifestyle choices, do healthy living, travel the world. Pursue a certain cause, and this is the opportunity that you have. That way, when you meet the one, there's so much you're bringing to the table. Next thing is determine your 4 major outcomes of your life. Family being the first one. Do you want marriage? This is a legitimate question. Remember we said that it's okay to be single. Paul actually charges us in Corinthians 7:7. He charges us to be single. It's okay to be single for life. God's blessings are with the single as much as they are with the married. And all God's people said? Single people, I feel like I'm preaching to a married crowd. If you want marriage, become intentional about discovering what marriage is all about and inquiring about other people's marriage. What are the lessons they're learning? What are the things that they're doing that are working? What are the things that they're doing that are not working? This is the one thing I can boldly say that I did right. So when I got into marriage, I even knew how to talk to my wife. I mean, that doesn't mean that I have not put my foot in my mouth quite a number of times, but I still knew. And it was important to me to even know that saying sorry is okay. Because I learned from the guys who have gone before me. Number 2, friends. What are your key relationships? Who are the people who are speaking to your life? What are the most significant voices speaking to you? What are they telling you? What is it founded on? Are they speaking from a place of bile? Are they speaking from a place of heart? Or are they speaking from a place of success? Are they speaking from a place of they've had experience? Who is speaking into your life? Who is telling you about your relationship? What are they saying? I mean, we've all listened to some of the local radio and the kind of advice that you hear on there. Are these the kind of friends that you're hanging out with? Choose carefully those you surround yourselves with. And by the way, this is not just for the single people. This is also for the married people. This is also for you if you are engaged. Choose very carefully who is speaking into your life. What are they speaking and what ground does that stand on? Is it solid ground? Is it firm ground? Is it a ground based on love? Like real love and not that's the feeling that you get over here? What are your friends saying? Number 3, focus. Define enough in terms of money, sex, and power. How much money is enough? And they all said, not enough. How do you manage your resources? Do you know how to create a budget? Do you know, are you saving? Are you investing? Let me tell you, I was one of those YOLO kind of people. You only live life once. And everything I made, I used up. I mean, for me, investment. Let me tell you what investment was. And please do not judge me. But investment meant I invest this $250 to $300 in the latest Michael Jordan Nikes. That's what investment meant. Doing budgets, I don't understand what budgets are. You buy food, you fill the house with junk food, and it's all good. Saving, what are those? I only know a checking account where when you swipe, everything goes. What are you doing to manage your resources? What are you doing to make the most of your resources? The best time for you to learn is right now when you're single, before he or before she comes into your life. I am now learning that I have to do this because I have a wife who's looking up to me. She desires some stuff and I desire some stuff too. But there's so much more pressure when it comes, you're looking, hey, kuna watu, there are people looking up to me. I need to understand how to budget. I need to make sure at the end of this money, I have saved, I have invested, but at the same time, my family has had fun and I've provided for them. Are you learning this in your singlehood? How do you handle power? What sort of leader or even follower are you? Are you learning love and submission during this time? There's a great phrase that says that the best leaders have often been the greatest followers. Are you first learning to love, to submit, so that you can be that person in your relationship? Often they say love for men and submit for women, but I say both for all of you. Because in that chapter in Ephesians, it says, submit one to another. Before it says, wives, submit to your husband. It says, submit to one another. And even though that verse says, husbands, love your wife like Christ loved the church, it's also for the woman to love you too. This is how we express ourselves in marriage. Are you keeping yourself chaste, pure during this season? Can I just say that when you engage in physical acts prior to marriage, this does have a bearing on the kind of marriage that you will have. It affects your marriage big time. You end up getting ties here and there, and you bring some false expectations and false, thoughts of what this love-making should be when you get to marriage. And no wonder, it's one of the number one things, money and sex, that makes, relationships break up. How are you handling your sexuality during this season? Song of Songs says, 8:4, it says that, daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. This comes from one of the wisest recorded men in the Bible. The last thing is faith. Choosing to live as Christ follower is a huge factor in both the choices you will make and who you will enter a relationship with. Developing your faith, is a walk which is a lifelong practice. It's something we do for the rest of our lives. We've just come from a series called I Follow. We've learned that in following Christ is where we find our transformation, is where we become better people. In Philippians 2:12, Paul says that, continue to work out your salvation. And I'm reading from the Amplified version. And he says, that is, cultivate it. Bring it to full effect. Actively pursue spiritual maturity. With awe-inspired fear and trembling, using serious caution and critical self-evaluation to avoid anything that might offend God or discredit the name of Christ. Paul is charging you. You need to cultivate, work on, bring it to full effect. Actively pursue spiritual maturity. It is in doing this that you become the person that God has called you to be. It is in doing this that you become the best you that God has called you to be. Let me tell you, when you're single, it is so much easier for you to pursue God with everything. The more people you add into your life, it becomes that much more difficult. For wives, there's a husband who's demanding some stuff for you. For husbands, there's a wife, who's demanding stuff from you. I remember, I at one point, I became a Christian young, and I used to be, a very excited Christian. So I am an early bird. I wake up at 4 a.m, so that's my time to pray. And I don't mind singing to Jesus. I don't mind praying to Jesus. I don't mind, making a shout to the Lord, a joyful noise. That's what most people will call it. A joyful noise to the Lord. But now, if I did that in the sitting room at 4 a.m, shh, we are sleeping. This is the season in your life. It's a season that has been ordained by God. It's a season when you're free. It's a season that you need to stop bowing to the pressures of society, bowing to the pressures of your peers, and enjoy yourself. Paul, after seeing what he saw around him, in Corinthians, he says, it is better to be single. There is freedom in it. That's the moment you have to enjoy life, to take life with a silver spoon. And at the end of the day, in Philippians, he's just basically telling you, be the best you that God has called you to be. I want you to turn to your neighbor and tell them, be the best you that God has called you to be. And by the way, this is not just for the singles. This is for you also who is married. Now, for some of you who have done Ndoa in here or facilitated Ndoa here, you know what the Ndoa mantra is. What does it say? Work on me, pray for them. Work on me, pray for them. The only thing that you can control, the only thing that you can change is what you do and how you respond to the person that you're with or that you intend to be with. And you have to learn to build this foundation when you're in this stage of singlehood. Be the best you that God has called you to be. Be the best you that God has called you to be.